Hey guys, and welcome to the stream. So this is a bit of an impromptu one, slightly planned. Did write out a few little dot points I wanted to talk about today, but yeah, I did one of these last time and I found a few of you enjoyed it, so I thought I'd pull out a few of my other flashlights today and also give you a bit of an update on what's happening with the channel, what I'm basically got in the mail coming and that kind of thing. But yeah, basically these days I've just been working on a few more tutorial videos. Those of you might have seen the recent video I just put out was a driver swap that I did, a little bit different from my other videos where I usually just do beam shots or a basic, basic review video, that kind of thing. I've wanted to do a little bit more of those. I don't mod my lights all that much, but yeah, when I do, I try to stick the camera up there and record and explain what I'm doing. So yeah, if you like that, just let me know and I'll make some more of those. I'm also thinking of exploring other types of reviews, so things like tools, other kinds of gear as well. So I've done some reviews of some Nextool products and some Victorinox products, but there's also stuff like infrared cameras, and those are actually really pricey, but thinking of reaching out to a few companies, seeing if I can get some other types of gear besides lights to review. So if you guys have any ideas in terms of what you'd be interested in seeing videos, what types of videos you'd like to see, reviews, that kind of thing, yeah, just let me know and I'll do my best, because I do talk about lights a lot and that was the main focus on this channel. But I guess all in all, it's mainly a tech, a general tech theme that I'd like to have on the channel. So yeah, but I do see a few of you here in the chats, yeah, watching along. It's I'm not sure whereabouts you guys are watching from, but leave a message below. Let me know, yeah, what time it is, where you're watching from, and yeah, whether maybe you've bought a new light lately. Maybe you're interested in something, just let me know if you've seen any sort of interesting lights out there. I do have a few new lights coming in the mail. Yeah, this weekend was a little bit busy for me. I ran another painting show on my other channel. Also saw June, the second part of June. So I really like that movie. Amazing. It's probably the best movie I've seen for a long time. I barely go to the movies. In fact, just don't have the... I don't know, it's just that releasing so much crap these days that, yeah, I mean, to get me actually into the movies, sit down and pay for a ticket, it has to be something, for me anyway, that I feel is really worthwhile. So, yeah, I mean, that was amazing. But yeah, I guess updates in terms of what's coming. I've got a light coming from Armytek. It's the Predator Pro. So this is a tactical light, and it's basically quite similar to this one here, the more powerful version of the Doberman Pro. I was going to just say Doberman, but it is the Doberman Pro. I reviewed this one some time ago, and yeah, basically I've got one of those coming in the mail. I don't know exactly when it will arrive. I've also got a few new tactical models coming from Nextorch, which is really exciting. They have some new products available this year in their 2024 catalog. So yeah, there's one 21-700, 2x21-700 cell tactical flashlight, really sort of large flashlight, but looks interesting. I've also got a couple of Sofern lights coming as well. I've got the Sofern H05B and the SC03. That's something, yeah, these are quite interesting lights. I mean, from what they appear, they have like, yeah, one of them has a smooth reflector, but then on the side it looks like a lantern, so it's like a lantern and a throwy light all in one. And I've also I also had Astrolux or Banggood reach out to me, so they're going to send me a light, the Astrolux EP05, and I'm quite curious to see actually what actually comes of that, because I've never, I don't own any Astrolux flashlights myself, so yeah, I want to see what they're all about, whether they're any good or not. But yeah, if you're watching along and you've got one of these lights, or you've dealt with Astrolux before, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of them. But yeah, didn't really expect anyone to be here today. I've not announced that I'm going live or anything like that. Just sort of thought I'd do something because it's a little bit late here in Melbourne, and feeling a little bit tired from the weekend. So I think I've got enough energy just to talk about some of my favorite tactical lights, some of these full-size tactical lights that I thought I'd share with you guys, especially if you are maybe new to the channel, haven't seen any of my reviews, because I've reviewed all of these already on the channel. But I wanted to go through, I guess, my top 12 large or full-size tactical flashlights. I've got lots of tactical lights, but these are the ones that I usually end up grabbing if I basically want a larger tactical light. In matter of fact, these days I tend to go for a smaller form factor, like a 18650 style flashlight, tactical flashlight. It's just a lot easier to carry. But obviously there are some advantages of these tactical models, and obviously you've got this larger body, so generally they're built a little bit more robust than the 18650 counterparts. So for example, you've got the Warrior 3 Mini. I don't have it with me at the moment, but it's a lot smaller and it prioritizes size rather than heat dissipation, brightness, and obviously longevity as well. Sustained output is what I'm trying to say. So I basically split these out into a few small sections here. Let me know as well. I do see a bunch of you in the chats. If you're watching along, let me know how the audio and video is going. I can't really tell. I can see just some bars on the side, but I'm guessing it's all good. But basically, I'll start off with these ones here on the right. And so this one here, now I included the M21B, the Convoy M21B, and some people might think, okay, it's not really a proper tactical flashlight, but I think it's probably as close as you can get in terms of these budget tactical flashlights that just outperforms a lot of my other flashlights in terms of throw, output, and just bang for buck. So this was one of the first ones that I got, and it's got a reverse clicky switch in there, but if you install a forward switch in there, you're pretty much good to go in terms of a tactical flashlight. But I've got this one with the it's a CSL PM1.F1 emitter in there. It's a green emitter, one of my favorite ones, and I think it throws nearly a kilometer, if I'm not mistaken. I measured this a while ago in a previous review. I'm pretty sure it throws close to a kilometer, which is, that's pretty incredible for a tiny little flashlight like this. But I think you can get these for $30 or something like that through AliExpress. Doesn't come with a battery in there. But I tell you what, it's great value, especially if you're kind of on the fence about whether you need to spend $100+ on a tactical light. You can actually switch the UI to always turn on at 100% or even a slightly lower mode, so that every time you press that button, it goes on either to that 100% or even 50% mode to start out with. And I think that makes it, almost, if not just as good as just had a mosquito just fly past. But almost as good, if not just as good as some of my fully fledged tactical flashlights here that do have that momentary on. So it doesn't have the momentary on, but basically the next best thing, and it comes with all kinds of different emitters. So you can get the XHP 70.3 high, 50.3. What else can you get with it? SFT 40. That's a pretty common one as well, a classic. So I really like this light. I've got a couple versions of this one. I've got another one just in white, and excellent value as always from Convoy. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one here, I've got the Workos TD01, and I've actually got this one in the TD01C. If you're going to get this light, get the TD01C version. It's just got a buck driver in there. It's a little bit, starts out a little less bright than this one, than the TD01, but it does sustain a higher output throughout the duration of the tests that I ran. And yeah, not just that, it also runs significantly cooler. So anyway, the TD01 or the TD01C, the newer version, is, I think it's closer to a fully fledged tactical light. In fact, it is a tactical light, but a budget tactical light, I suppose. And I just think it's amazing that they can make lights like this these days with such a low price, and has a 1 kilometer throw. The C version as well has excellent sustained output and performance, even when comparing it to some of my other tactical lights out here. I mean, performance wise, I really can't fault it. Okay, in terms of durability, long-term durability, I'm really not sure, but that's pretty much like with all my other lights here. They just have to use them for a bit longer to see whether they hold up. But yeah, on the back here, you've got this switch. It's a momentary switch, so basically a half press allows you access to that momentary mode. Full press has the constant on output, and you can switch between modes here through the side of the flashlight as well. Okay, but again, some people probably wouldn't consider this a proper tactical flashlight, only because it has this switch on the side here, a side switch that potentially could be accidentally activated. If I have that light on, I press that, and it lowers the brightness accidentally, that kind of thing. So, but I think those two, the Convoy and the Workos, great little, lights, especially if you are new to lights. You don't want to spend over $100. Really recommend those ones. I always end up going back to these regardless. So I'll put those aside for a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about these other ones. So this one here is the Armytek Doberman Pro, and look, it is an 18650 light, but because it has a larger head and it's a little bit longer, I've classified it as, one of the larger tactical lights, I guess, that I own. So, as you can see here, just under the bezel, you've got, they don't even tell you exactly what type of emitter it is, but it looks like it's basically like a quad die emitter. It really reminds me of those, what do you call them? Those Cree MCE emitters from, 10 or something years ago. But, in the reflector, especially used outside, looks absolutely fine and produces, significant amounts of light. I do find it's a little cool, but yeah, I really like the finish on the Doberman Pro as well. It's probably my favorite finish out of all my tactical lights, and the reason why is that it's just so grippy and durable. And I'm not really sure what they use on it, but it's a really, really matte black sort of finish, as you can see here. And yeah, just so grippy. Okay, and you do find some tactical lights out there that that basically have a sort of slippery feel to it. And what comes to mind at the moment is Olight and Fenix. So those two brands have a sort of this glossy kind of finish there, and so they have to resort to this kind of knurling in order to create a bit of extra grip. Now, Armytek is one of those companies that really, put a lot of attention to detail into their designs, the quality of their lights. They have quite a generous warranty as well. I believe it's a 7 to 10 year warranty on most of their products. One thing I find a bit interesting about this light is it has this sort of, now I actually can't remember how it works, but you turn the head in certain, in certain ways, you unscrew it screw it back in twice by pressing the end switch, and you can change different modes in the light as well as the interface. So the manual took me a little while to actually figure out how to use this thing, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty intuitive, and you can leave it on a more simple mode, so you don't need to really mess around with anything. But yeah, I guess out of all of my main tactical flashlights, the finish on this is probably my favorite out of the lot. And yeah, it does have magnetic charging as well. You can see here in the back. So sort of a little thing here that you attach charger onto. You can actually take out the battery, charge the battery separately. It comes with this kind of tactical ring as well here on the side. So you just can hold the light like this so it doesn't slip out of your hand. But like I said, the grip on this light is, I mean, it's second to none, really. Even if you've got wet hands, I've tried using this light with wet hands. I mean, the grip is solid, you know, even without any knurling. So yeah, anyway, that's a Doberman Pro for you. Now, coming up next here is the Warrior X3. So the Olight Warrior X3. Received this, I don't know, about maybe six or so months ago. And the light basically has an SFT40 in here. SFT40 smooth reflector. Okay, just sort of bringing it up a bit closer to the camera. Yeah, SFT40, sorry, SFT70. Okay, it's got these glass breaking beads, which aren't present on all tactical lights, but you can see here on the Doberman Pro, it's got this crenulated bezel that does produce a slight edge in areas so that if you were wanting to break a window or something, you could do it. But these round ceramic beads here are, you know, just that extra efficient touch that you can some manufacturers use on their lights. So yeah, again, magnetic charging here on the back, and that's something that some of you might not like. You know, for some people it means more convenience, and for others it's more of an annoyance. But keep in mind, you can take the batteries out and charge them separately. And yeah, with Olight, you know, I find that one of the things, it performs really well when you have a fully charged battery, but when that battery voltage starts to drop, I think past about maybe 50 to 60%, you can't activate that turbo mode anymore. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind with Olight. And you know, you've also, you know, when it starts overheating, I do find, you know, if you activate turbo mode, steps down to a low mode, and you reactivate that turbo mode again, well, it doesn't want to reactivate basically. So that's something I found with Olight. But overall, I find that they've got this great ease of use, especially for people who don't know much about lights and they just want something that works, that has a very generous warranty, no hassles kind of warranty. Obviously, proprietary charging is something you should definitely consider, but it's a well-built light. The knurling gives it some really good grip as well here, and yeah, it's chunky. It's got a bit of heft to it, that's for sure. Okay, so coming up next, I've got here my Wuben T1, and I tell you what, the Wuben T1 was one. This really surprised me because I don't know why, but no one talks about this light out there. Just seems like, I don't know, they just don't do much advertising on the T1. And in fact, I had to go into Wuben's catalog, went online, checked it out, and I wasn't able to sort of find it until I sort of went through the back end a little bit, and finally, yeah, they do have a whole bunch of these different tactical style lights in there. And this one's really interesting because you've got this, it's like a two-way switch. So you press down normally to activate turbo, but if you sort of press to the side, you get a strobe mode. So it's kind of, I think it's a really, really good idea. And initially I thought to myself, when I saw it, when I saw a picture of it, I thought to myself, maybe that would basically be a bit flimsy, you know, maybe be wiggly around, you know, this design, because it's just, you know, these two-way switches, just more moving parts. But yeah, it actually feels really solid. You know, I haven't had any issues with it at all. And it also feels very intuitive to use. So, you know, you can go from strobe, you know, to using the full 100% turbo mode all the way. And the great thing about, you know, this light as well is that it also takes two, what do you call them, those CR123 cells. So it is an 18650 cell flashlight, but I tell you what, it's as large as the Warrior X3. It's actually larger. Yeah, it's actually larger. You know, though it does use an 18650 cell. You know, would it be nice if it used a 21700 and then maybe, you know, Wuben included something like a yeah, basically like a adapter, an 18650 adapter that also takes CR123 cells. But I tell you what, it's a great little tactile light. It does have an SST40 in there, which I thought, you know, would be great with their next version if Wuben were to change this one up. Maybe put in an SFT40 in there, or just a few other LED options, just as Wuben have done with their ECL collection, the X series. You can see you get them, some of them come with different types of LEDs that you can select in there. So would like to see them change that around, but overall, you know, this is a really solid, it's a serious light. And I wasn't sure what to think of it when I first got it, but after reviewing it, I'm very impressed. And, you know, for some of you as well, you might prefer the added, you know, the added sort of softness of that SST40 in there. Okay, the SFT40 does throw further, but at the end of the day, because this reflector is so large, I mean, it pretty much throws almost the same distance as, well, the same distance basically as a lot of my other tactical flashlights of this size. So coming up next, I've got a couple of Nextorch models, and yeah, there's a bunch of you here in the chat, so you're being a bit quiet today. Leave a message, let me know how you're doing and whereabouts you're watching from today. It's nearly 11 o'clock here in Melbourne, but I'm not sure what time. It was funny because I streamed about midday in Melbourne last time and had tons of people on. I think it was like at one stage it was about 30 to 40 people, but yeah, maybe because we got daylight savings here in Melbourne as well, if I'd streamed a little bit later. Yeah, but anyhow, let's go on. So these are a couple of lights from Nextorch. So this is the Nextorch TA30 Max and the TA30C Max. Okay, and as some of you would know, I've worked with Nextorch for quite a long time now. So probably over a year. I'd say over a year. And yeah, I'm really impressed with their lights. It's funny because I've never heard of them before, and a lot of people haven't heard of them actually, but they provide flashlights to various law enforcement agencies, and the main ones I'm aware of is the Swiss police force and the German federal police. So their products really have to stand up to the tests of the job, you know, proper drop tests, water resistance. And you'll notice as well that on their tactical lights, there's no external USB charging as well. So there's sort of leaves less of that issue of that water getting into the light and causing problems. Okay, this one comes with a tactical ring. I think this is the FR2 tactical ring. So you can actually put this into your pocket and remove it from your pocket very, very quickly. And that's in comparison to, say, basically like a normal flashlight that just has a clip here on the side, which you might have to fumble around there in your pocket as well. I've got Top Dog here. Top Dog 8762 says it's 6:48 a.m. here. Yeah, I've probably gone live at the wrong bloody time. But yeah, next time might just actually check the conversions, because the only people watching are people that are actually need to be awake at that time, because yeah, I don't wake up past 8:30 even these days. Okay, just bought 4 Aplos lights yesterday and tested them last night. Aplos, I've heard Aplos are made by Sofern, or the same company that makes Sofern, the Jinbar company. So that do Workos as well. How'd you find them? And yeah, it's quite a few. Did you get the same ones? Are they like gifts or something like that? Or did you bought a few different versions, different sort of models to test out? Because I know they have some tactical style lights. They've got some EDC style lights. Yeah. But good to have you here, Top Dog. So yeah, going back on about my, these Nextorch lights here, the TA30 Max. Okay. And this one here has an XHP 70.3, I believe. Oh, no, 50.3. XHP 50.3. All right. So it's kind of like a domed LED. This one here is the XHP 50.3 high. So the Nextorch TA30C Max. And the difference between these LEDs is that they, if you look very closely, is this one's de-domed, this one is not. So all things being equal, you're going to get some extra throw out of this light, which it does. As it throws a little bit further. But you get a bit more of a floody beam with the TA30 Max, especially because it does come with an orange peel reflector. Both of them do. Okay. But it's an interesting sort of orange peel reflector. It's not as textured as some other OP reflectors that I've seen out there. So you still, I would say there's still a very, very, strong hot spot in the center. Okay. But yeah, it's almost like 60% throw, 40% flood, if not 50-50. So it's yeah. And I asked Nextorch, why don't they just put smooth reflectors in here? And the contact at the time was telling me that in their law enforcement teams that they deal with, and they provide these flashlights to, the feedback was that they actually prefer the orange pill. It's more practical and illuminates a larger area. And I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if they're going into a house or in an area, they're probably not going to need a few 100 meters of throw. So yeah, but of course I'm a bit of a throw nut, so always love a smooth reflector in there. And you can see here, with the TA30 Max, it's got this stainless steel reflector here. Sorry, stainless steel bezel with 3 ceramic glass breaking beads. But the TA30C Max actually has an upgraded titanium bezel. I would get this one. If you were maybe tossing up between which one to get, the TA30 Max or the TA30C Max, I'll go the TA30C Max. It's also got a few other features here on the back. So it's got a battery indicator, okay, whereas the TA30C does not. Sorry, the TA30 Max. I'm getting confused. There's so many different models. But another cool thing is that they have this interesting switch design here. So you get into the tactical mode, which just allows you half press the switch for high, full press for strobe. So that's a really great function as well. I find just having both that momentary mode and strobe mode all into one. And especially, one of the bit of research I think they were doing was something to do with that startle reflex, when you might be in a situation when you're in a bit of danger and you just mash that switch really hard and it will go straight onto that strobe mode when you need it most. And I don't know any other lights apart from, yeah, you've got this one here, I guess the Wuben T1. It's still one, yeah, it's one switch, kind of. Yeah, it's one switch, but you sort of press it in different ways that way to activate strobe to the side and down just for, yeah, and down just for the actual full mode. But, yeah, I don't know what else to talk about with these lights. They come with a whole bunch of different accessories as well. And there's ones that you sort of just clip on the holsters that you just clip onto your belt. Make it very easy to take these out. And yeah, I think out of all of my tactical lights that I have, okay, and I know there's tons and tons of different brands out there, okay, and I've yet to experience some of those brands, but of the ones that I have here with me and in my collection, which I think I have over, I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 different brands, I find Nextorch to be the best kind of overall. It feels more of like an actual tool rather than a flashlight. You know, the manufacturing is just top notch. Anodizing reminds me a little bit of the Armytek anodizing as well. So it's matte black, very grippy. Somehow they just managed to get a bit of that grippiness onto their anodizing, so they don't have to use any kind of really aggressive knurling. Okay. And the cool thing as well is that this switch here at the back, you can sort of go between, I forgot to mention this, but you can go between these 3 different modes. Oh, geez. Bloody bright. So first, second, and third mode. And this makes it quite useful if you know, using it around the house. You don't want to have I don't know if you'd use it around the house, but I certainly don't. But, you know, if you're out camping or something like that, you just want to have a lower mode, it has that ability to activate that mode. And you do find some, you know, more hardcore tactical models, they only have one mode, and it's just 100%. So it's either a pro or a con, depending on, you know, depending on what you're using it for. But I would say because you know, it's very, you know, the switch just stays stuck anyway on tactical mode like that. I'm unlikely to activate any of the other modes accidentally. You can even have it on strobe mode fully. And I've never in the process of activating that that switch on the end accidentally switched it into any of these other modes. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about Nextorch. Very impressed with their lights. So I've got a couple of others here, and these are a couple of Fenix lights, a couple of larger Fenix lights. And Fenix is another brand that I absolutely love, and I got these ones sent to me by Adam from liteshop.com.au. And basically, the quality of these lights, like the actual, if you look at it up close, you see what I mean. The construction quality of these lights is second to none. And when you've got so many of them, you can really tell little differences. Even in the tail cap, the anodization is just even, and all the machining is absolutely perfect. Okay. Cool thing about this light is you unscrew the bezel. Where is it? Here. Underneath the bezel here. And you've got a little surprise. You have got the USB-C charging port. Okay. But here's a funny little thing. They put the battery indicator there, you know, where you can't see it when you're actually using the light. You know, would it be nice if they put the battery indicator like on their head underneath, like somewhere there maybe? Okay. But of course you can turn it on and then see what it is by, you know, which is green. But yeah, I really like this design because it allows, it's, you know, ease of use sort of when you're charging the light, but also protects it against bumps, hits, water damage as well. And the port itself is water resistant. So if you open this up and yet put it in water, it shouldn't damage the light as well. So there's 2 layers of protection. Fenix do a lifetime warranty as well on all their lights, which is pretty rare. I think there's only one other company out there that does it. I can't remember what company it is, and I think it's only for certain products. So, you know, they certainly have a lot of faith in their products, and some people might think Fenix look a bit boring. Okay, this is the TK20R V2.0. They've released a new version of this light recently. I think it's the TK20R V2.0 UE, something like that. So yeah, it's basically got another switch on here in the back. Speaking of which, yeah, I'll just show you a little bit of how the light works. But that's the SFT70 down there. You know, got a crenulated bezel, but it's not sharp or anything like that. You could, you know, you could get this past a security checkpoint, but you know, when you're talking about something like this, or is it, you know, with these glass breaking beads, you're probably might have some issues there getting it past security. But something like this, you know, it's still functional. We still be able to break a window with it, but it's not going to necessarily attract as much attention. 2 switches on the back, 1 switch that you can program to whatever mode you want. Okay. And the second switch here at the base for strobe. So 1-step strobe mode. Okay. And this is something that is also a bit of a cause some division with people, because again, if you've got, it is a tactical light, but I wouldn't say it's like a pure tactical light, because there's some room for error, some issues. Say, oh, that's way too bright. Say if I'm turning on the light, you know, I just want to make sure it's always in turbo. Okay, I'll put it to the highest mode. Here it's in turbo, okay? But if I turn it on, I accidentally press the bottom button as well, I'm back into low mode. And if it's a situation where, you know, I need that light to be on 100%, I've now kind of stuffed things up. So I've got to press the button again, go all the way up, okay? So for some people, I've seen people talk about Fenix lights and said that they're not real or proper tactical lights, okay? But for the average user, and you know, even if you're in law enforcement and security, you know, generally speaking, you should be okay. But yeah, I suppose if you're in law enforcement and you need a light that always has to turn on at 100% every single time, you know, I'd be a little bit wary of this switch there on the back, because yeah, again, you're going to have to cycle through if you accidentally press the smaller button. But of course, you've got that 1-step strobe still in there. That always is 1-step strobe unless the light is turned on. Okay. But for, you know, for an average user like myself, I love it. I mean, this thing is just so versatile for a variety of different situations. I mean, it's usable. I don't want a light that just has 100%. It just starts off on 100% all the time, because, you know, for someone like me, I've really got no use for that kind of thing. And yeah, so that's the, you know, the TK20R V2.0. But this one here is the Fenix PD36R Pro, and both these have the same SFT40 emitter, SFT70 emitter. That's what I meant to say. But, you know, you've got a larger reflector on the TK20R V2.0. So that's definitely going to give you a bit of extra range, better heat dissipation as well than the PD36R Pro. But with this one, obviously, it's just a lot slimmer, easier to carry in your pocket. And I just love the look of it. It's just got this kind of elegance to it. But of course, you do give up a little bit of throw and heat dissipation with this light. Okay, same design, same sort of design, you know, half press. And of course, you just sort of cycle through. Jeez, it's too bright to be using this at night. Cycle through the different modes. Bottom button goes to strobe. Bit controversial on a tactical light, but you've got this gasket here. rubber gasket. Okay, you got the USB-C port underneath there. The good thing though is that the port is sealed, so you shouldn't have any water get in there. Yeah, but I know a lot of people don't like those USB ports on their lights. Yeah, I think it's a really nice looking light. Feels great. It's weighted nicely. Another thing you should keep in mind with Fenix as well is that the anodizing is slippery. You know, I don't know why they use this kind of anodizing. I wish they used anodizing kind of similar to Armytek. You know, something that's less glossy, more kind of low key and grippy. Okay, hands are slightly sweaty, and you can see there's a lot more friction on the Doberman Pro. In fact, I can see little bits of my skin start to get rubbed off on the Doberman Pro. That's how grippy it is. Okay, and Nextorch also have that same similar, I believe, kind of anodizing. It's not as pronounced. It's not as pronounced as on the Doberman Pro, but it does have that same grippy matte black anodizing. Okay, but they're great overall lights. They've got a, you know, lifetime warranty on them. And from what Adam tells me, Adam from Liteshop, he says that they basically have the highest reliability out of all of their flashlights. And I think Fenix stick to those sort of tried and tested, reliable designs. Also, just before I forget as well, I've linked down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, if you're wondering what that is, it's a Facebook group that I created. So if you want to go on there, meet other people that are into flashlights, you can join up just type in that link in. Yeah, I think there's about close to 3,000 people in it now, but there's a lot of flashlight companies as well that advertise in there that yeah, basically provide updates, that kind of thing. Try to sell some of their lights. Thanks, Top Dog. Thanks for the super chat, Top Dog. It says great channel. Cheers. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of work. It does take a lot of work running this thing, but it's also been just so rewarding. And I'm a little bit tired now. Probably don't sound too convincing, but it's just allowed me to reach out to so many people, meet different people in the flashlight community, and really just explore this hobby. And you know, when I was a kid, when I was like 16, I think 15 or 16, you know, I'll buy all these lights from Deal Extreme or just from eBay, these crappy $2 lights, you know, and to look now at just being able to get my hands on some of these amazing lights it's almost like a dream come true. So thank you so much for your support, Top Dog. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I wouldn't be able to do any of this without, you know, with you guys watching along. So, you know, if there's stuff you want to see, if there's videos you want to see me make, or any feedback, any constructive feedback, I'm all ears. Just reach out, let me know. So there we have it. So a couple of those Fenix lights. Moving on to the next one here. This is a Nitecore light that I have, the Nitecore P23i. I've got this one out on my desk all the time, and I really like this one. And the reason why is because this is kind of like the hot rod out of all my SFT70 lights. And for some reason, Nitecore just push the limit with some of their lights, and this one definitely fits into that category. You know, if I have this one on, I sort of compared this light to quite a few of my other flashlights, tactile flashlights, and it has the best sort of sustained output, but it gets really, really hot, almost unbearable to hold unless you hold it down the back like that. So good thing is that it does have, you know, significant weight to it. One thing that did bug me with this light though is Nitecore include a proprietary battery in here. Can't just use a normal 21700 cell. So yeah, you're gonna have to either buy a new an additional battery from them if you need to hot swap the batteries on the go. Have a backup battery, because otherwise you're gonna have to charge it through the port. Not ideal. But performance wise, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And even the throw, it's got a smaller sized bezel than my Nextorch flashlights, but it throws further, which is quite amazing. I've actually swapped another clip on here. I had another, I have a Nitecore actually provide a smaller clip, okay, but I just swapped another clip. I think this is a Wuben clip from my C2 actually. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to deep carry, and normally the clip goes around the center parts of the light. Here in the top of the light, there's a few glass breaking beads. So I've got these ceramic glass breaking beads, okay. And I've seen these used in action, some videos, just very easily breaking windows, and potentially could be used as a weapon as well. Okay. I don't know what else to talk about this light, but basically I'll show you a little bit of the functionality. So there's a half press for turbo, or whatever you want in there basically. So you press this second button here to cycle between the modes. It's too late. It's really bright. Cycle between the modes like that. Double press for strobe, or you can just turn off the light and press that flat switch there for strobe. Okay. Now, what I like about the Nitecore switches is, unlike the Fenix switches, okay, you can see here that they have the same kind of idea here, with one button for strobe, one button for the turbo or whatever mode you have programmed in there. You're less likely to hit this mode change setting on the Nitecore, because it's recessed into the actual cap itself, the tail cap, whereas this one sticks out. The Fenix button sticks out. Both of them stick out. So when I press that button, I'm also likely to potentially press that bottom one if I'm panicking. Okay, whereas this one, much less likely. Top Dog saying, ordered P23i from Longhorn Tactical, waiting for it to show up. P23i was on sale for 25% off. Sale is still going on. Yeah, I tell you what. Yeah, I tell you what. The P23i. I'm just swatting at a mosquito that just flew past. The P23i is one of the best performing SFT 70 lights that I have, especially for the size. And yeah, I would personally prefer a light that pushes it to the limit, but I can still sort of manually step the light down. That means that if I actually need to use that light on 100%, have it sustain output for a long period of time, you know, I have that option. Whereas if you have, you know, Fenix, for example, has a very conservative step down. So I'm pretty sure this one steps down within 30 seconds. So after 30 seconds, turbo, that's it. You know? And doesn't really get hot at all. Very easy to hold, you know. So the temperature regulation is perfect in terms, you know, if you want a light that just stays warm, you can hold it pretty much in any part, not burn yourself. But this one's going to outperform it over the long run. So, you know, every light has its pros and cons, and for some people a pro can be a con and a con can be a pro. But yeah, Top Dog, that's a pretty good deal for 25% off. You know, like I said, the only thing that bugs me about the P23i is that it uses a proprietary cell. Let me just open it up. Takes a little while to open it as well. 5000 milliamp cell. And yeah, you can see here, you know, they got this kind of, just trying to kill this mosquito. It's really bugging me. Sorry. I'm not hitting myself for fun. Yeah, it kind of reminds me a bit of the Olight batteries. So yeah, the Olight batteries also have this positive and negative terminal on the same part of the battery. Okay, and you can see down the inside of the P23i as well. Let's have a look. Let me get that in there. You can sort of see it. There's a ring, like a copper ring, and then the center part is right in the center. You can see the spring. Sorry, I just can't. Really struggling to focus the thing. Maybe if I bring it down more. Yeah. So it makes contact. The copper part makes contact with the, I'm guessing this part of this negative part there, and then the spring makes contact with the positive. And I've got Cultural here as well in the chat. How you doing, Cultural? Good to see you. And Top Dog's asking, would an Olight battery work in it? I can try to put one in and see what happens. I'm slightly bloody worried to do it though. I think I should be okay. His famous last words. Let me think this out a bit. I think I should be okay. Let me just try this. Oh God. Okay. Does not work. It does not work with the Olight cell. Thanks, Top Dog. If there's one thing that freaks me out, it's yeah, like lithium ion battery safety. You just have to be so careful with these things. But yeah, looking down the inside, you know, the positive and the negative terminal, they're separated out, you know, in the head significantly, so should be okay. But yeah, I always thought that this design was a bit dangerous, and because just the positive and the negative terminal is just so, you know, it's just so close to each other. I mean, it really would be a miracle if something happened though, because if you look down into the head of these lights, the actual positive spring, the actual spring is recessed into the head beyond that kind of copper ring. So makes it pretty much impossible for it to make contact with the negative terminal. So the only thing it can touch, the only thing that spring can touch is the middle section of the battery. Okay, and then there's some plastic insulation around as well that helps to insulate the cell if something were to go wrong. You know, I mean, the only way you'd short circuit it is if you pulled out the spring. If you got some pliers in there, pulled the spring out at a funny angle, and then somehow managed to make contact with the other. Yeah, but yeah, the way that they're designed, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem likely that it would. Very unlikely, like almost impossible for it to short circuit unless you start messing around with that spring inside and pulling it out. But the spring is slightly recessed. Anyway, I kind of got into a bit of a tangent there. My hands were a bit sweaty before when I swapped in that battery, Top Dog. God, yeah, the light you put it in probably thought it was reverse polarity. Yeah, yeah, maybe, or maybe it just didn't make contact. I'm thinking because, like, the Olight battery. Let me just have a look at this. There's no reason why it shouldn't work. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. It might have, you know what? I think what could have stopped it from this black ring around the Olight might just sort of be blocking. Stopping the positive terminal from making contact with the spring. It's completely flat on the Nitecore. Yeah. But they do seem to have that same design. Okay, let's just get this. Let's just get this back on. And there we go. And the P23i also has this charging port, USB-C charging port. It's a very sturdy sort of port as well. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere. It takes me a little while to actually pull the thing out. Whereas if you look on some of the Fenix models, it's just almost like a thin strip of, you know, thin strip of rubber. That does connect on quite firmly, but yeah, I don't feel as confident as with this one here, P23i. And yeah, if you're gonna have a USB port on a tactical light, you're gonna want one like this one, or one like on the Fenix TK20R. You can just unscrew and access that charging port. Okay. Let's put this all back together. Yeah, and Culturus says Olight in their proprietary ways. Yep. That's why I find with Olight, yeah, if I'm going out camping, if I'm potentially needing to use the light in a life or death situation, I'm going to pick another brand. That's just how it is. Because, you know, if I'm having to carry around an additional charger with me in those situations, and, you know, some people also get additional Olight batteries. That's a solution if you got some extra cash to splash on that. But it's mainly the charging issue. You can only charge it with that thing, that magnetic thing on the back. You can take the battery out and charge it, but it's not as easy as you think. Because the battery positive terminal is recessed, it doesn't make contact with some external chargers, so you have to modify some of your chargers. Yeah, you'd have to modify some of your chargers for sure, to maybe add a bit of I've seen people add some solder, a glob of solder onto one of the terminals, so that it can actually reach inside and make contact with the positive terminal of the battery. But it's too much. It's too much fiddling around, obviously. So, what was I gonna say something else about Olight, but I've forgotten now. Might come back to me a bit later. And Cultural's asking, reckon if you had them, you'd have 21700 weld tools up here? Yeah, maybe. I've got one weld tool. It's the T2. It's the T2, and I like the light, but I would get the tactical model of that. So the one that I had is just a normal T2 model, and what I didn't like about it was the interface. So I believe there was no shortcut to turbo and the memory mode. Yeah, something to the memory mode. If I want to, basically with weld tool lights, they're quite, you know, they produce tons of sort of tactical style flashlights. I guess that's their trade. You know, their kind of what do you call, style of their lights. Yeah, but to answer your question, yeah, I don't know too much about weld tool, but I've heard a lot of good things about them. Hopefully, I can get a few more models for review sometime in the future. Yeah. So, oh yeah, Cultural. So you're saving for the T2 tack. Emailed them yesterday. Said they're coming out with a black T2 tack by the end of this month. Yeah, get that one. Don't get the normal T2. I didn't really like the T2 after using it for a period of time. It's just because of the interface, and you know, this is probably because I'm biased, because I just like a light that always starts on turbo, or you're able to configure it to turbo. I think you're able to start it on turbo, but the memory mode just kicks in after a few seconds, and it's just annoying. You end up going into other different modes if it's in the just normal model. So yeah, said it's currently in production. Top Dog says, I've never seen a comparison of beams of weld tools. Think you could do one. But yeah, maybe I've got to get a few of them in my collection first, and as you guys know, they are not cheap. So yeah, one thing I really like is that they also have some really small tactical lights that produce a heap of throw compared to their competitors out there. And some of their lights are also potted. They're potted electronics, which means that they're shielded more against shock, water damage, and yeah, they're just a little bit more durable. So none of these lights, I believe, are potted here, but you do see them in a lot of those pretty expensive ones that you get out there. And I think Surefire, correct me if I'm wrong, they also do potted electronics. And yeah, that's the one there, the 14500 T1 Pro Tac. Yeah, I can't remember if that's the one that what's the newest one that they had? It's got an LEP, it's SMD LED, SMD LEP sort of system in there. I mean, that one looks really cool. Yeah, and it looks like you agree. You and Mike both have gripes with the T2's UI. Yeah, and I think it's, we both prefer a more dedicated tactical UI, a more traditional tactical UI. It just didn't make sense to me why you would have a light with the throw and the look of a tactical light, but with a UI that's not tactical. It doesn't make sense to me at all. So Top Dog is asking, how does the air cooling work on weld tool? Did they just layer epoxy on the electronics? Some type of resin. I don't think it's epoxy. It's some type of resin. Yeah, but yeah, the air cooling system. I'm not exactly sure. Like, they explain it on their website, and to be honest with you, if I compare a similar sort of light, I've seen other lights out there that don't have that air cooling system. It's kind of like they call it hole through the head system. I don't have my T2 with me. It's in the box at the moment, but it's almost like on the head they've just drilled a bunch of holes through a series of holes that just allow the heat to dissipate, apparently more efficiently. But I don't know. I actually don't know, in comparison to what, if they had a version of the T2, for example, or one of these lights with that cooling system, and then they made another version of the same light without the cooling system, and they showed run times of both of them to compare, I'll be more convinced. But, that's because I just, I need to see some evidence, kind of thing. I mean, if I compare the T2 with the hole through the head cooling system with, say, what else? I mean, another tactical light that I have of a similar size, maybe this Armytek light or something like that. It's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. Maybe the T2 might have sustained output, okay, but we don't know. We don't know exactly until it's actually compared to a version of it that doesn't have that system installed in it. And yeah, I mean, call me skeptical, but that's just how I feel. And we've got Norasaf Rambi says, no candidate from Sofern, Workos, Convoy. Well, yes, there is. There's a couple here. I picked out a couple. You missed out the start of the stream. So these are kind of like the larger tactical lights by the way, in terms of, and some of you might actually think that Convoy, the M21B, is not a tactical light, and it's, truth be told, it's not a pure tactical light. But I tell you what, it gets as close as you can, especially for a budget price tag, costing, a quarter of the price of a lot of these other lights out here with pretty much similar performance. Okay. And what I do with these ones, if I want to make sure I'm always on 100% when I turn it on, because it's got a reverse switch, so there's no momentary mode. I just program the UI to always switch on 100%. So that's one way that you can get a very cheap budget tactical light that performs pretty much the same as a lot of these other similar style lights. And you get a whole bunch of different emitters in there as well. And of course, yeah, the Workos TD01 and the TD01C. So moving on to the last two sort of larger tactical lights. Just read Cultural's saying, no idea how Workos fit a buck driver on the TD01C, but I'm all for it. Yeah, pretty amazing. And what I like is how they take into account people's feedback. They're a very sort of enthusiast friendly brand, both for price and, I wish they would put that buck driver into a few of the other lights. For example, the headlamp, the one that I reviewed recently, you guys might have seen that, the Workos HD50. It's got a red LED and it's got some other LED, brighter sort of white LEDs in there as well. That's runs too damn hot. They should put a buck driver in that one for sure. But yeah, if it's going to take up extra room, that might be an issue as well. But you do see that. You do see proper regulated drivers on other headlamps. But again, we're getting, for the price that you're paying for, sometimes that's all you can expect. They're going to put a FET driver in there because it's just cheaper, so they can sell it at that price. But yeah, it was interesting to see that Workos put a buck driver in the TD01C, and it actually wasn't that much more expensive. I think it might have been a few dollars more. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't much extra, and I think a lot of people would pay the difference, because even with the added expense of the buck driver, it's still super cheap. I mean, this thing was what, $30 or something like that. And out of all these lights, it outthrows pretty much all of these lights, performance wise. So, I mean, you really can't say no. You really can't say no. I mean, I'm not a flashlight snob. If you just look at the performance and the figures, performance wise, it kicks ass. Okay. Ben the electronic doll says, Darren, keep up the good work. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate your support, mate. All right, a few bucks more worth the extra. Definitely. Yeah. And surely they manufacture these drivers for as cheap as chips over in China. Like they just print these out by the thousands, if anything. So yeah, for consumers like us, what's the extra $5? But I guess when it comes down to non-enthusiasts, maybe people that are just buying them off Amazon and eBay and stuff, they got no idea what the difference would be between the drivers, and $5 or $10 difference for them might turn them off, especially when you're competing on price. And that's what they always say with businesses. It's tricky when you're competing on price, because someone's always going to be able to do it for cheaper, or willing to do it for cheaper. But you know, it's just amazing what they can make these days. The quality, it's a budget price, but the quality is fantastic. So I've got a couple more I thought I'd talk about as well. And these are a couple of Nextorch models that I have. These are LEP flashlights. I don't have many of these. These cost a lot. And our mate Tim McMahon has a few other models. He's got some Well-Tool models. He's got the Well-Tool W3 Pro, and he's also got the Astrolux WP. I can't remember what it was. It was WP3 or something like that. I can't remember, but it does have similar sort of throw specifications of 3+ kilometers. But this is the Nextorch T10L, and it has a throw rating of about 1.3 kilometers. Okay, it's an LEP flashlight. I brought this out with me the other day when I was doing some beam shots down a mine shaft. And this is just a really cool light to carry on you at night if you, I don't know, it's so impractical in ways because it just produces this really long beam and basically zero spill. But it's just so cool that you can carry a light in your pocket that throws up to 1.3 kilometers. And yeah, it's basically like a little lightsaber in your pocket. And I see this would appeal more to people who are hunters or sort of need to spot something from long distance. For me, they're just fun. You know, I don't really have a use for them, but they're just great fun to play with. And this is another one, the Nextorch T20L, and this is so cool. I love this thing. It's it's 900 lumens, I think. So it's one of the brightest LEP flashlights out there. I think it's the brightest single lens LEP flashlight out there. Besides, I think the Ace Beam W50, but that's not the W50. I think is what it's called. That really large one that's not available to the public. But I think it actually produces similar lumen output as well. So around 900 lumens. So single lens, produces a heap of light. Pretty due to that laser module in there. It's got a high-powered laser module in there. And it produces quite a large hotspot compared to other LEP flashlights. So, yeah, I've demonstrated this light a few times. Don't want to blind myself up close. But yeah, for most people, I think with these ones, they're not really, probably not on your radar, but they're just cool because they've got that tactile feature. They basically have the same UI as my other Nextorch lights, like this one here. Look at that. That's the Nextorch TA30C Max. If you had them side by side, you wouldn't even be able to tell which is which. You wouldn't even be able to tell which is which. But yeah, you've got this Nextorch sort of painted ring design as well. You sort of flick through these different modes. Crap. You know, tack mode, half press for whatchamacallit. Momentary high, full press for strobe. You know, they've got a strobe mode on the LEP light. Like, is that unnecessary or is that just cool? I don't know. But it's as if they've just transplanted an LEP in there. And I mean, I love it. I love this thing. Like, both of them have just got that same great Nextorch sort of build quality. And the UI, okay. You've got these glass breaking beads as well up the top. Yeah, and I think it's one of those things as well. If you don't want to, I don't know, if you're spotting something from a long distance away and you don't want to like reveal your location. I mean, people are going to see the beam anyway through the night sky. It's like a laser, you know, but it's not going to produce any spill, so it's less likely to scare off other animals, that kind of thing. Some new chats here. I think there's a few more people that have joined the stream. Drop a message in the chat if you've joined. I think people were just starting to wake up. I started streaming before where it must have been real early, like 6 a.m. Top Dog was saying it was about 6 a.m. So I was wondering where everyone was, but I'm just streaming at a funny time. Nora Seraph says, still hoping to buy Sophone C8L even after all of Sophone and Workos releases, but now considering Workos TD04, people say the SC33 is better. Please advise. I can't really advise. I don't have any of those lights, but someone in the chats might be able to help you. Someone in the chats might be able to help you. And also, you know, if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of the stream, there's that group that a public group that I just made on Facebook that you can join and post questions and stuff there as well. So I guarantee you someone there will be able to help you out. I have way too many lights already to purchase, to be purchasing them kind of willy-nilly. And Me says there are about 7 million flashlight companies, and Sophone has horrible customer service. Have you had a bad experience with Sophone? What happened? I've worked with Sophone for a while now. They were the first company. They were the first company, apart from Workos, I think. They were the first company that worked with me, that would agree to work with me when I started making videos, because I had something like 1 or 200 subscribers, and no one was watching my videos. So back then, they were the first company that provided me a light to review. I think just let me know if I can help out in any way, because I have someone, like a contact from them as well, so I can always forward them your details if you have some ongoing issues with them, or something that they didn't fix up for you or whatever. But they do have warranties on their lights, and from what I hear, that if you have an issue with your light, they want you to take some, like a video or something of you demonstrating the issue, and then they'll send you another one. But, you know, Workos, which are basically manufactured by in the same factory, apparently, they have a really good reputation. Like, they just send you out a new light if there's anything wrong with it. You know, I had an issue with the one of the headlamps. You know, one of the LEDs just blew up, and they sent me a new one. No questions asked. Louis Arturo, 8:40 p.m. in the Philippines, playing with my FC13 while watching live. Thinking of my FC12. You got that's the FC13's the Enduro one, isn't it? It's got the flashy auxiliary modes on there as well. Good on you, Louis. And another question, Nora Surf's asking, I wonder how will LEP light perform in close distance? Well, are you trying to get me to blind myself? Is that what you're trying to say? It's not pleasant. It's just basically a really focused beam on the ground that you can't look at because it's just way too bright. But I do see some LEP manufacturers provide a diffuser. So I've tried this myself. I've actually put on like a makeshift one, and it does diffuse the light. Okay, But to me, it really just seems pointless, because like you're buying the light for the long distance performance. But one thing I really like now is that some of these new LEP manufacturers are now having these zoomable lenses on the LEPs, like the AceBeam W35, I believe. So you sort of like, yeah, you can zoom in and out to produce a flood or throw beam, which I think make LEPs a much more viable option for, general use. However, a lot of LEP flashlights do not have a very high lumen output at the moment, but they still consume a decent amount of power. So as they get more efficient, I mean, the whole purpose of the LEPs is to start off with the blue laser, and the blue laser passes through, from what I understand, some kind of metal substrate, and then the phosphor, which is like the yellow part of the LED, and that produces visible light. So it converts the laser into visible light with the focus, the kind of culminated properties of laser. So as you know, with lasers, they just go over a very long distance, so it preserves that quality of the light somehow. Also, the lenses that you see with LEP lights, that helps as well. That's definitely got to help. As you can see, they're just these, what do you call them, convex lenses. And you really see the same effect. Like I've got the Convoy Z1, and the one I have uses a round LED. And when you zoom the light in, it has a very similar, I mean, it's less pronounced effect than with an LEP light, but similar sort of, very focused beam with no spill. Okay. But that point of light is just not as focused as with the LEP, probably because with the LEP, you're starting with a very bright, small surface in there. It's kind of like when you have the Osram W1, and the Osram W1s, because it's producing so much light for such a 1 by 1 millimeter square, really just goes so well with a large reflector. It throws in anything. You put that LED in anything and it just throws. Yeah. Okay, look, I think there's some. That's good. Top Dog's got some tips in the chat for Nora Siraf. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, that's the great thing about being able to chat about this stuff together, because I only just started getting back into lights about a year and a half ago, after maybe, I don't know, 8 years of not really caring much about lights, and everyone was just so helpful. I went onto a bunch of forums, went onto a bunch of Facebook groups, and asked some questions, and people were just happy to update me on what the heck's been going on in the last 8 years. And I remember I saw the first light I brought was like the Wuben C2, I think it was. I bought the Wuben C2, and it had the SST40 in there. And I remember getting it and turning it on and just being like absolutely amazed, because I mean, now it's nothing. I mean, a lot of us would have dealt with the multiple SST40 lights, but for me, I mean, the last light, the largest, brightest light that I had back in, I don't know, 2000 something, 2000 something, it produced 1600 lumens, and it had 4 Cree XMLs in there, and that was considered like one of the brightest lights at the time. Have a look at the chat still. Yeah, do you guys, if you guys have any questions and stuff, let me know. Just let me know if you have any questions about any of these lights I've talked about today. I'm gonna hang around for a little bit and try to answer your questions, but it's getting pretty late here in Melbourne. I'm probably gonna get to sleep soonish. But yeah, these are like my top 12 larger tactical flashlights. Okay, bear in mind, like I said in the beginning, I don't really carry a lot of these around. I tend to go for an 18650 form factor. So, you know, here's a couple of examples, okay? Convoy S8, the Fenix PD35. You know, the size difference is night and day. And when it comes down to carrying a light in my pocket, especially if I'm not really, you know, if I don't really need a bigger light, I'm going to go for one of these. Yeah, especially in a jeans pocket. They're not the most comfortable lights. If you have to choose one of these 21700 lights that you want to, you know, you still want one, but you want to prioritize comfort, I'll probably get this one. This or some light with this sort of same style. It's got a kind of a thinner tube. It's the Fenix PD36R Pro. Thinner tube all the way down, small bezel as well. Okay, but when you try to fit something like this in your pocket, it's really not all that comfortable. It's doable. Okay, the important thing to note is that it is doable. But after carrying these around, I mean, I just don't bother with these unless I really need that extra runtime. But given a serious, maybe like a serious situation where I don't know, like a survival situation, I'd probably grab these bigger ones, that's for sure. You could, you know, I don't know, probably do a bit more damage if you're going to bonk someone or break something with it. We get some extra runtime as well. One thing that bugs me is that a lot of these tactical lights, they don't offer the ability to use CR123 cells. I'm probably never going to use one in those lights anyway. But if I had to, I think that's a really good, you know, alternative, a really good option to have. The only one that does accept is this one, the Wuben T1 does accept 2 CR123 cells. Oh, and I think the Armytek as well. But these are 18650 lights. So even though I say, oh, okay, I'm going to carry around, I only carry an 18650 lights. These ones are like not your usual 18650 lights. I mean, they're gigantic. Look at these things. Okay. But it would be nice if they, you know, with these other 21700 cell lights, that they included one of those adapters. And you see Nitecore include that with some of their lights, an 18650 adapter, which also allows you to put in 2 CR123 cells in an emergency. Cultural's got a question asking, if you carry an 18650 tactical light, what do you carry? Yeah, I'm probably going to do another live stream on that, to be honest. The last one I did was like my favorite EDC lights that I carry around, but let me just show you which ones I actually carry with me. So these ones here, I have these pretty much on my table constantly. So I've got the couple of these Fenix lights, the Fenix PD35 and V3.0 and the Fenix PD35R. Love both of these lights. Tactical functionality and just so easy to carry around in your pocket. Both of these Fenix lights, I think I've compared them both in the previous video. I just can't decide which one I like more, you know, but they are a little bit different. Well, this one's got an extra switch on the back for one-step strobe. This one's got one switch on the back, which actually makes it a lot easier to activate the turbo without accidentally activating other modes. But then you've got this button on the side, which, yeah, technically you could mash that button accidentally and then you're stuffed. But yeah, I carry these around pretty often. The Convoy S8, I've got a bunch of different models of this and the S6. And I've just got this to start off in 100% mode all the time. It's tiny little light, but it outthrows, because I've got this CSL PM1 emitter in there, outthrows all of my other lights of the same size. So even though I've got lights that do cost more, I still end up carrying this one around a lot of the time these days. And the Terminator M2, yeah, this doesn't really fit into this category of tactical lights, but yeah, that's one that I got recently, and it has a spot beam, high candela spot beam, and a floodlight as well. So you sort of switch between the flood and spot with this little switch there on the back. And surprisingly, you might think, why would you, Darren, why are you lugging around this gigantic thing? But surprisingly, it is like really comfortable, because the diameter of it is pretty much the same as the S8, as you see here. It's just a little bit wider. So when it goes in your pocket, it actually feels more comfortable than, say, carrying something like this with the wider bezel. That's what gets you, the bezel, rather than the actual width of the light. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of an awkward thing, but it's just, it solves that problem of flood and throw by having two separate barrels here, one for flood, one for throw. And you can, with no compromise as well with each beam, because sometimes you've got gigantic bezel and there's three LEDs, 5 LEDs for flood, and then you've got another big reflector on the other side for the throw. You can't carry that thing around, but something like this you can. So cool. Convoy M2. That Convoy M2 with the XHP 50.3 you recommended really turned out to be a great light. Oh yeah, the Convoy M2. Let me just grab that. This is another one. This is another one that I also carry with me. Not all that often, because, like, as you can see, the head is a bit larger. But performance-wise, I mean, yeah, this thing is a serious thrower, because it's got that smooth reflector. You can get all different kinds of LEDs in there. I've got a CUL PM1TG in there. Okay. Believe I measured something like 600 meters of throw with this. Insanity. This thing costs like $25 or less. Comes with a clip as well. And it outperforms pretty much almost anything else of the size. So, yeah, it's a lot. Check that out. So, I mean, it is very doable, very pocketable. It's pretty much around the same size as my Fenix PD35. Yeah. You see that? It's pretty much the same size. I don't know which M2 you're talking about, the Louis, because we've got two M2s now. Convoy M2 or the Ace Beam Terminator M2. Yeah, it's the M1 is a lot larger, but the M2 Ace Beam M2 takes an 18650 cell. Yeah, we've got too many lights. Honestly, just look mad. If any normal person was watching this, refer me to a mental institution. This one here is the Nitecore MH12 SE, and I carry this one around a fair bit as well. Yeah, no, it is mad. What am I doing up at 12 o'clock in the morning talking about lights with like 100 lights around me? It actually looks mad, because I have like a box where I store some of the lights as well, and I can move the camera, but there's just lights. There's lights on the ground. There's all kinds of crap all over the place. Just light boxes and crap all over the place, and I've got no space for anything else. I've got to tidy it all up. But I actually look like a crazy person. I probably am. You got to be crazy. You got to be crazy to do this, to have this many lights. But anyway, the Nitecore MH12 SE is one that I carry around. They've actually released a new one. What's it called? It's called the MH12 Pro. The MH12 Pro, and I believe that also takes a non-proprietary cell. So I really like this one because it's pretty much the same size as my Fenix PD30. If you check out the Fenix PD35R, getting so excited now, it's pretty much the same size, but it's a 21700 cell. It also comes with an adapter so that you can fit a 18650 cell, and that adapter allows you to fit two CR123 cells Oh, there was a question before about the clip on the S8. So the clip from the S8 actually comes from my Nitecore flashlights. So yeah, it's the same clip as on the MH12 SE. So if you go Google that, Nitecore MH12 SE clip, that the model number is there. I found it. Someone asked me the same question before. It's called the G something. I can't remember this. The G something clip. But it's a great clip. It's a great clip because yeah, like when you're carrying lights around, especially if you want to be a bit more low key, you don't want something hanging out of your pocket all the time. People ask, "What's that in your pocket?" You know, it just makes it a lot more low key. Slip into the edge of your pocket, easy. But yeah, the reason why I carry this one around a lot as well is just because of the size of it, and it's got really good throw. I mean, if you compare it to the Fenix, okay, it actually throws, I believe, an extra 100 something meters. Okay, even though the reflectors are almost the same, it's slightly deeper, the reflector on the MH12 SE. But yeah, if I were you, don't get this one because I think it's just, this one's already. I think they've stopped making it already. They've got the MH12 Pro, which comes with this new round LED. Produces a much nicer beam, so I get that one for sure. One thing that I didn't like about this light is it's got like a real thin battery tube. Check this out. Okay, here we go. Normal battery, normal 21700 cell battery, and I have tried other 21700 cells. They work with the light, thankfully. Yeah, the battery tube is real thin. Check that out. So I have not dropped this, I've hit it around with some other lights, but I don't know if I were to give it a good whack, whether it would just dent the thing. It feels like it probably would. Maybe let's just see what it looks like compared to, say, the Fenix. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in the battery tube thickness. So I wouldn't say it's half, but almost half the thickness of the Fenix. Okay, it's very light. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's gonna just fall apart. I'm, press it as hard as I can. Nothing's gonna happen. But it's more so if you drop it, whack it onto something. Yeah. For an average person using this light, you don't have to worry about anything. The cool thing though, if you check out the Convoy M2, now this has got if I remember correctly, this has got a really thick battery tube. Yeah, check that out. Check out that battery tube. It's like 2 millimeters thick or something. We compare them side by side. So I feel that's really going to take a good knock. Okay. It's a good one, that Nitecore. Yep, it is. The MH12 Pro, probably, like I said, the better choice, because I don't think they make this one anymore. Does the MH12 Pro require proprietary battery? I'm not sure. Louis. We'd have to Google that. I hope not. I really hope not. I don't think so, because the reason, from what I'm aware of, the reason why Nitecore use those proprietary cells is so that they can get extra, sort of maximize the draw from the battery. So it's usually with lights that require, I don't know, 15 amps or something like that. So with these emitters, the SFT40 and, the UHI20, I believe they call it, I doubt that it would be drawing more than 8 amps. So, yeah, I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Alrighty, so yeah. It's funny we ended up looking at this one. It is kind of fits into the category of all the others. of the 21700s, but it's the only one that's small enough that I actually end up carrying around. And sometimes, if you're like me and you just don't like carrying around a lot of stuff on you, you end up just carrying around the lights that are the most convenient and the most comfortable. So yeah. Anyhow, I'm probably going to end this stream now. Yeah, I'm going to end this stream now. But I really appreciate you all being here, and it's good actually chatting to some of you. And yeah, if you're watching long after and you've got questions, let me know. But I think that's about it. So I will see you all. I'll catch you all next time, yeah? But have a great day, night. I'm gonna get some sleep. Alrighty, see you guys.